two social media platforms where the target audience is hanging out is LinkedIn and Facebook. So we're employing those two. And LinkedIn is, or sorry, Facebook is more like the wider audience, but we're still trying to find the target audience within that wider audience. It's really within LinkedIn is where we're going to find those people who are willing and who want to engage even beyond just purchasing the book, that they want to have you come and speak in their organization or do a training with their team, things like that. So that's what I'll be working on. And then I'll also be working with Mike for him to start adding strategic connections as well, so that all the posting that we're doing on from Mike's profile will be shown to those connections. And again, it's part of the marketing funnel. It establishes that the know, the like, and the trust factors and promotions as we're ready to continue to start marketing the new book. So that's LinkedIn. And if you go to, go to Counsel Publishing, which is what it pops up as first, and go down, you'll have to click on it again, fortunately. But so here's the page that Kevin set up for Counsel Publishing itself. This is a company page. Now, the deal with company pages and showcase pages is they're kind of like a set it and forget it kind of a thing. Like they really don't get that much visibility on LinkedIn. It's really through personal profiles that you're going to get the best connections and the best visibility. So what I'll be doing here is just occasionally putting posts for updates on there. So if they do so happen to visit the page, they can see the most relevant information. But in terms of conversation and relationship building, it's going to be more so through your own personal profile that you'll see this. So you'll see on this page, I just put up a simple cover background and
cool.
added a little logo for you guys. It's just a temporary one, so we can talk about that. Like the branding itself you're going to need to look at branding for the release of the new book, and then the Counsel Publishing brand itself. We need to kind of think through that. So for example, I put a temporary tagline of effective solutions for evolving businesses, but we can kind of work with that. So what do you want your the publishing company to be known for? And of course we can change it over time. It's not, set in stone or whatever. But this is just in principle to market the book. So that as people are looking at the book and they look up Counsel Publishing, they'll see these guys know what they're doing. This is where it's coming from. So beyond that, then on the affiliated pages is where you have your products. And this is also set up by Kevin. So this is the showcase page. So when you click on it, this is the page itself for the book. Again, it's another one of those set it and forget it kind of things that, it's nice to know, but people aren't going to be regularly seeing this. So just a new background, similar to what Mike has already, just a quote from the book, and we could put a couple of updates here when we have them. So that's pretty much LinkedIn, because Twitter is kind of just a tertiary social media that we're just doing automatic publishing in from the other. When we're posting in LinkedIn and Facebook, an automatic post will also appear on Twitter, but we're not necessarily nurturing a community here. Like most authors use Twitter as kind of like a microblogging site, and you totally can, Mike. If you want to go ahead and continue to build a following within Twitter itself, that's great. But I would say your primary efforts need to be in Facebook itself and in LinkedIn. But Twitter's there as well. If you like Twitter and you want to build your targeted audience in there as well, then you can continue to find people to follow, encourage them to follow you, and you can comment, reply, things like that on Twitter as well. So you'll see another cover background that highlights and showcases the book. And as we have new cover art, then we can also change this. And then in terms of Facebook itself, so there are 3 main pages for Facebook, just like LinkedIn had. So there's the profile itself. So the profile, anytime you hover over anything on Facebook or anyone's name on Facebook, it'll give you a quick little blurb about who they are. It'll show your cover image and it'll show your profile image, and then it'll say something like, where are you from? Like what page do you own, or something like that, or like how many friends do you have? So when they go to click on so your brand follows you everywhere too. So as you're engaging itself on Facebook, commenting on other people's posts and whatnot, then they're going to access it, which is why it's important to have your branding here.
I like the little piece of information that says married to Susan Bowling pending.
I've been trying to get rid of that, and I don't know how.
She has to accept.
I have.
You got to jump over a broomstick?
Oh,
I
really?
guess.
Oh, it must be a glitch. I would go in and undo that and then try
All right.
and see it. Oh, Facebook. That's what it is. Yeah, so Facebook's terms and conditions says that we can't actively promote a business through a profile because they want money. But what you can do is you can feature a couple things on your personal profile. So when people visit it, they can see very clearly that this is your business. This is what you do. So for example, in the intro, I just revised it a little bit to say author of Moving Beyond Compromise and business group decision-making consultant, something like that. But we can talk about the wording, about the name of whatever that is when we move on to like branding and like additional products. So then when you go to Manages Moving Beyond Compromise page itself, and it's actually listed up here too. Yeah. So here it is. So this is the page. So this is like the mini website that exists within social media and Facebook for people who aren't necessarily going to go to the website, but they can. So this is just kind of like a landing page. So the goal is to have maybe like at most one post a day on here. You're really not going to get much visibility on the Facebook page, which is really unfortunate. Facebook has prioritized other things, including money. And so we don't get much visibility from these posts, unfortunately, on Facebook. But it's nice to have there, and it needs to look current and for them to have clear call to action steps for anyone who's visiting, who's interested in this.
And what is a call to action step?
So a call to action step, for example, is learn more. So then when they click on that, that will take them to the website itself so that they can order. Additional things like that would be good to have on here, like we talked about, are reviews. So reviews will say like from Doug Allen, and he can even just copy and paste what he's previously written. He doesn't have to have a unique one for each platform, but it's nice to know because some people will never visit these other platforms, but they would be interested to know that actually, yes, this person who's in the business world, who teaches in education in business, highly recommends the book as being an effective approach.
So Facebook will allow you to promote a book or a product, but not a business. Is that what I'm seeing?
Not on your personal profile. So that's what the business page is for. So your business page is to promote your book. So you can post anything you want here for your business. It's just on your own personal profile that you have to be careful. Now, typically what I advise clients do is they have the occasional thing where they're talking about, so excited, the new book is coming out soon or whatever, but it's not like they're doing every day like, hey, check out my new offer, or hey, go to my website where I'm, launching my new book, or typically Facebook won't flag you for that type of behavior. But you for those of you who are active in Facebook, which I think only might be Mike kind of, you definitely see when people are actively trying to push their business through their personal profile, because that's where they get a lot of visibility.
Sure.
Facebook doesn't like that. Facebook wants to.
Because every third word in their blog is a hyperlink to buy their product.
Exactly. Right. Yes. We have to be very careful about what we're doing with personal profiles. And so we're following the terms and conditions. So like I said, Facebook wants to monetize Facebook. They claim they're about community building, but they're really not. But we can still use the platform for that purpose, which is great. So the 3 ways that you can gain visibility for your brand and for your book in Facebook is as follows. 1, Facebook videos, live videos. We talked about this previously. The second is ads. And I'm hoping at some point we will start getting into advertisement because it's actually very cost effective. And it's specifically targeted within your target market. And then the third is groups. So I haven't actually fully developed the group yet, but ideally what would happen is that as people buy the book, they're being encouraged at the end of the book, for example, to join the Facebook group where the conversation can continue. Because what's going to happen, and we've talked about this previously, is when they read the book, they're going to say, wow, this is really great. I'm going to start to apply it. But then questions are going to come up in practice. And they're probably going to want to have additional support and asking, like, what happens when you've encountered this situation, or, I need like some encouragement here as I'm, encountering this challenge, or things like that. Or it's also an additional place for the authors to be able to add additional content or additional questions, or even upcoming promotions for people who need that next step beyond the book. So that's Facebook. Is there any questions and then Goodreads, I also set up the author profile, and Mike and I can also talk about that. But I think that the most strategic right now for us to work within are those two social media platforms of LinkedIn and Facebook. And having a presence in Twitter and Goodreads is good, but it's not a focus.
Yep. I'll probably take a look at the Goodreads profile. I was intending to do that last night, but got distracted reading Sharice's instead.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sharice is doing a lot of research she's doing a lot of time.
Yeah.
To figure out how to effectively market herself in these online spaces.
Yep. She and I will be talking when she's here in a few weeks.
Nice. She's got probably a lot of great tips for you to follow as well.
Yeah.
Amy, how would we be using ads to promote the book? Or did I misunderstand you about videos, ads, and groups?
Yes. So there's a couple different ways that you can use ads on Facebook. You can use it to direct people to your website to purchase a book.
I see.
Or to opt into a freebie, like a signature offer, which is what we talked about last time, to collect new email addresses and grow your email list. You can also run Facebook ads to encourage people to join the group. So, for example, people who've never, or even if they have purchased the book, like, we want there to be this growing readership that's having a conversation within this Facebook group, because this is where we're getting visibility on Facebook, is when you have an interactive group where people are asking questions of each other, that the authors are responsive, that people are finding the content to be really valuable, and that they're returning and spending as much time as possible on the platform, because that's what Facebook ultimately wants, is they want people to spend as much time as possible on the platform so that they see more ads, so they can generate more ad revenue. So when we get there, and we can talk about what are the strategic ways in which we need to run ads. So one, for example, is even building an email list. We'll talk about that in a second. It's like, it's really profitable to have people's email, especially if they're a receptive audience within a target population that we're looking to market to, because they're likely there's a higher rate of conversion with that versus just a generic email list that we have that may or may not be targeted enough, or maybe those people already bought and they're not really going to buy beyond just the initial product. So that kind of gets into the next part, which is our contacts. But before we do, I just wanted to wrap up. So Kevin had mentioned that he has restarted his own Facebook profile. And I've mentioned a couple of things to him in an email about what he can do. Again, you can look to the example of Mike's to see, what did I do, just in terms of, basic optimization to make sure that people clearly see what it is that you're doing. Let me know if you need anything in that respect, Kevin, that I can help out with.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get with you separately.
Okay. And then when we get to that point, you don't have to now, but if you feel like you do want to be part more of the conversation in like the Facebook group, then you can join in on that conversation. It's great because then you don't have to, participate in Facebook and anything but just that, if that's the level that you feel comfortable in wanting to spend your time in doing. So, and then the other piece of that too is making sure that we continue to grow the readership on Facebook. And the way that this is done is in your personal profile, you're strategically friending people that you think are within your market, and asking them to like the page, and then eventually hoping that they'll join the Facebook group, and we can invite them to join the Facebook group, which could be a big deal. Say, for example, that in our research, even through LinkedIn, we start to notice that there are, leaders in the business world who live within Colorado, just to begin, who look like they're interested in leadership. So let's say they're a leader in a business, whether it's a nonprofit or it's a for-profit organization. For us to strategically friend them on Facebook now gives us access to their profile to better understand them, who they are, and then to invite them to the page to like it and to join the conversation in the group. So this is something that can be done across all platforms, but it's a way that we're nurturing really key connections. So then beyond that is, I think, the most critical piece, which is starting to think very proactively about our list of contacts. So far I've got an email list from Mike and from Kevin, and it took a little while to clean it up and to put it in.
Sorry about that.
Well, no, it's fine. It took a little while to clean it up and make sure that it looks good within both MailChimp, which is who we're ultimately going to email to, right? But then I've also created a client relationship management software account called through HubSpot. Have any of you ever worked with a CRM?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
great.
a little.
Basically constant contact.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So we're using it in a much more minimal way than most businesses do. We're using it to try to keep track of who are we talking about when we're talking about our list of people that we're considering. So at a minimum, for example, and we'll have to evolve this as we move on, but here's our list imported from MailChimp of all our contacts after we've cleaned them up, because we also want to make sure that MailChimp doesn't think that we're just spamming a bunch of people. So I have to go in and make sure that we pull out email addresses that are just like roles versus like actual people, etc. So once we've done this, then we can start to categorize and keep track of who are we talking about by filters. So for example, who's J. Scott Sprague? J is John?
Pardon?
Nobody
ever calls him anything but Scott.
Yeah, it's just Scott. Okay, gotcha. So this is Scott. So for example, we can categorize him as a Baha'i. Right. Now we can also add, is he in business? Like we can say like, yes, he is involved in a business who would probably be interested in something like this. And beyond that, is he an influencer? So some of these people will be Baha'is. Actually, many of them probably will. The next great thing is, are they in business? Beyond that, are they an influencer? So for example, if I go to Doug Allen, which I've already categorized, it does let us know that yes, he's a Baha'i, yes, he's in business, and yes, he's an influencer. So he's kind of in our top tier list of people that we're actively thinking about, like our 10 to 20 influencers that we're calling on for very specific actions at critical times. So for example, one thing that we're asking him to do is to publish his review on the following sites: on the Facebook page, on the LinkedIn under recommendation for each of the authors, on, what am I missing? On Goodreads, places like that. So that's something that, and he would be happy to do that if he knows it would help the business to thrive, right? So we're hoping to grow this list of influencers that we have. Now, not all of those influencers are going to be Baha'i in business and an influencer, but it kind of helps us to know like that that's probably the most receptive that we have, who would help us to promote the book and extend beyond. So this kind of also, so this is a piece of it. So, and then we can filter it out. We can say, okay, how many influencers do we have? How many Baha'is on this list do we have? And what are the things that we're doing with each of these people? So say, for example, that we identify someone who could be an influencer in LinkedIn and we add them to our list. We can also make sure that they've purchased and read the book. Maybe we don't even have them purchase. We just, engage them in a conversation and send them the book for free. And then if they like it, then we ask them to submit a review. We ask them to, reach out to their colleagues and talk to them about them. If they have their own platform, like a podcast or a blog or a YouTube channel, for example, then we ask if they're able to promote it to their particular audience. And in some cases, the influencers are going to be the ones themselves who are like, yes, actually, I really like this book. What kind of training program do you offer in relationship to this book? And you're like, oh, it's great. Actually, we have a package where we do 2 pre-consultation calls with you to make sure we understand, the mission of the business, who are the employees, what are the current set of challenges, what are the obstacles. Have the training itself, maybe like a 4-hour training, which includes like an X number of copies of the book for each employee to take home and to internalize themselves. And then a follow-up call with that leader to make sure, you know, that we're addressing additional things that are coming up. So that would be like a package. I think and I believe that beyond the Baha'i community, this is where we're gonna sell the most books, and we're gonna really get into consistent speaking engagements and in trainings, is by identifying these key influencers, especially if they're within the Baha'i or the business community, and offering them these things. So it has to be more than the book. It has to be that, yes, we have, if you want to book us as a speaking engagement, here's how you do that. If you want to book a training session, here's what's involved in that package. Here's the price for that package. And then we need to do an exploratory call with one of the authors to figure out when would this be. So this gets into the bigger piece of it, which is, you know, I know we talked about this last time, but I can do all the book marketing in the world and we can try to organically grow a lot of this, but I do believe the greatest numbers of the books that we can sell and achieving that long-term strategy of having speaking engagements and trainings be the most effective way for both selling the book and achieving that vision. Because at speaking engagements, you can sell the copies of your book. At trainings, you're essentially selling copies of your book within a package. So that's kind of the bigger piece, and that's the piece that the three of you would really have to seriously consider, because what could start happening is as we're driving traffic to the website, as they start to see valuable content, as you start to make these meaningful connections with these key influencers, they're going to say, this is great. Like, what do you offer? And we need to have something in place ready to go. Otherwise, we're going to miss opportunities.
Right.
Sure, at the end of the day, they might be excited by the book. They'll read through it. They're like, oh, yeah, I'll start applying some of these principles. But really, people and authors in particular need to think about what is the next upsell from the book. It's not enough to just have the book and for them to join a Facebook community. They need to have really practical things that they can do to start applying, because the concepts in this book are really great, but in action, it takes still a lot of work. You know, these are great. And even the characters themselves kind of have to like adjust and be worked through. And then what was her name? Is it Lily O'Hara? She still has to go back and ask for help. You know, there's still like follow-up questions, things that emerge, right, in practice as these things start to be applied. So that's what I would highly recommend. And I know that Kevin is still trying to figure out and gain new clients through his business, and may not have a ton of time, but maybe, I don't know.
No, I'm okay. So
okay, but maybe it's something to consider. Yeah. Can we throw more time towards developing the actual consulting part of this? So I called Mike what did I call him? A business better decisions. What did I say? So we can talk about this, right? We can talk about, what do you call yourselves? Are you a business group decision-making? Are you business group decision-making consultants? Something that's very clear that people can understand and say, oh, right, I need a consultant to help with group decision-making within my business, because we're really struggling here. This is a very particular niche that we could use help on. So what is that? And then making sure that that's a clear offer on the website in addition to the book. And they have a very easy way. So what is the steps that they need to take in order for them to, if they're interested? So like the first, for example, would be a discovery call kind of thing, where the three of you, one of three of you get on the call with a person in business and you talk through things and see if it's going to be a good fit. Maybe that's just a half an hour and it's a free call. If they say yes, that's great. Then they could buy a package, such as a training, or they could hire you as a speaker at their next meeting, for example. And then you guys could determine what are the prices on that. And I don't have a ton of experience with that myself. So this is something the three of you would really have to think through. Like, would it be $2,000, for example, for that first kind of training package that I described for like up to 20 team members? Or and maybe you have already some experience with other people in the business community who offer things like this, and how much do they charge? Because it's very valuable for the business, very valuable, and many businesses are happy to pay for it if it's very clear and that you're an established expert and you can help the team through this process. Same with a speaking engagement. Like, how much would you charge for a speaking engagement? because at some point we might start, and again, it's all dependent on how good we are with the marketing and to find these key connections. But you may find that right away someone's interested. Like, okay, well, who's available? Who can do this? Well, Mike, go ahead and do a speaking engagement. We already have the thing that we did from ABS. Go ahead and work off of that, and then we can further refine it. And maybe we offer it at a discount or cheaper than what we would normally, but not too little, because otherwise they feel like, oh, maybe you're not an expert in this. So it needs to be priced right. But it's something that you can also like play with, reflect on, improve, and further refine as you get better and better and better. So hopefully, for example, by the end of the year, we're consistently seeing businesses, saying once or twice a month, saying, yes, please come in and do a training with us. Or yes, please do a speaking engagement. And that's ultimately that long-term vision we're talking about. And one of the most effective ways I'm hoping that we'll be able to also sell your book in addition to that. So, but that's a big deal. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I guess the thing that came into my mind is like when I could reach back out to the development and training person at Coalfire, Carlin, and I'm sure she'd give me some kind of guidelines as to what other outside consultants do, and some parameters of, is it a 1 hour or all day or a weekend thing and how much it's going to cost. I'm sure she will help me out with that.
Oh, that would be great. That would be great research.
Yeah, I will do that.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. And here's another piece of that too, Kevin, is any other business contacts that you've had that we can reach out to is also a hot audience, it's a warm audience versus a cold audience who've never heard of you guys before.
Oh yeah.
So for the three of you, any businesses that you can think of that you previously worked with, you previously worked for, let's identify who is that contact person that we can get a hold of and start offering this to. Like we have a relationship there. So that can be included on our list of contacts. If these are the people that we're actively nurturing, we're offering these things, we're making it as easy as possible for them to be our influencers. Who made themselves say, yeah, actually, we could probably use this for we're looking at the year and what kinds of trainings we want to offer to employees. It sounds like a good one. Let's go ahead and add it. And because there's just a ton that you can learn through speaking engagements and through a training workshop that will further help to develop you as authors and to offer even higher value products. So that would be great. Mike, in addition to that, has put together a really great list of the top competitor profiles. They are also likely offering, some of them are likely offering additional packages beyond just their book or their thing that they're initially, there's always an upsell somewhere, whether it's a one-to-one consultation fee or something like that. And that may be another product that you offer that a company would be interested in. So you have the speaking engagement package, you have the training package, and then you have a one-on-one consultation package. Or say there's a leader who's gone through the previous steps, or maybe they haven't, they just need a lot of one-on-one help because they're just feeling really lost, and it's critical for their business for them to figure this piece out, like Lily O'Hara, right? So you guys can be one of those three consultants who can work with that business leader. So yes, if we're able to actively think about who are these people, if you want to share any details that you can with me, I can include it in this CRM so we can keep track of them and making sure that we don't lose them and that we're asking the right things of them and that they've had a chance to get the book, to promote it as best as they can, etc. So those are the two things I think are really critical. Gordon, I haven't heard much from you. How are you feeling about this idea?
Well, I know that Mike and Kevin and I have discussed putting together training materials at some point, and that's, my mind was kind of wandering off in that direction as you were discussing this, because I would think we need to get that in place before we start driving any business to that side of things.
Yeah.
That's I was just trying to figure out what kind of an effort would be involved in that.
Yeah.
And I haven't been hopping jobs very much in the past 30 years, so I really don't know, other than some things that I've seen in say, government agency settings, what training packages might look like. So I don't know if Mike or Kevin has any more current information or more valuable information, but I was just trying to, is this an all-day workshop? Is this as distinct from a talk? That's really, I see a lot of work involved there.
And the reality is, if you've ever been part of a business, like as an employee, you've likely been through paid trainings from an outside expert. So if you remember what any of those looked like.
Well, and I actually, at that training that we did with that, those two women with their company in October or whenever it was, I kept all that training information and, and the detail from that. So, and I'm sure that they are, I gave them a copy of our book, and I'm going to reach out to them just to see if I can get an audience with them at some point. And because they also did a book, and they are struggling with marketing their book as well. So, I'm sure we have a lot there, but we have what Mike and Gordon and I developed for the ABS conference that we did in 2017. We've got a basis for a presentation that we could expand up to a half day, fairly easily, I would think. So, right, because obviously ours was pretty much just a presentation and not a lot of, breakout sessions and and discussion times and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty straightforward. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back and look at something that I did along with a friend a long time ago, which was a training on small business marketing. And I've got all of that information in various places. I just have to relocate it because it's been 10 years. But it's something that is, I can look at and see how we managed that, because it was a 2-day training.
Okay.
So we can go back and see, because we did breakouts and we did all sorts of things. But we were talking about that, and I haven't thought about it in years, I have to admit. But I know I have it. It's just a matter of dredging it up.
Yeah. And remember, this can be a minimum viable product to start. Yeah. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, we'll learn about how to perfect the product with experience and time. So that's why taking what it is that you have, doing, going as far as you possibly can, seeing it, looking at other best practices of how do other businesses do this model. What is the structure, the timeline, perhaps how much are they charging? Those are all decisions and things that you can start to make. And then as we start to see these opportunities, we can start to offer them and say we discount them so that they feel even more inclined to want to do this. And then just try it and work with those companies, because the reality is that you have really helpful content. So regardless of how perfect the presentation is or the training or whatever, you're still going to be able to offer something that's valuable to the company, and you'll get better and better and better with time. But the more important thing is that we start doing it. We find those opportunities and start doing it, because that's when things will really start to gain momentum. Because if it works really well, the company likes it, then they're going to start referring you to other companies as well. And through word of mouth is where it's going to start to spread. So, and then here's again that list that Mike put together. So it would behoove us to study these people to see what is it that they're doing, what are they doing well, and then what are the things that we want to make sure that we're different in being able to offer. But even then, like Mike said, there's really not this particular thing of group decision making as a really strong training program. It's really not being offered in this way. Perhaps it's more so still the qualities of the leader that leads an effective team. But the reality is you can have a really effective leader, but you can still have an ineffective decision-making process in place.
Completely.
Yeah, as right. So we need to, but the leader is the one who also creates that environment and the culture. and the rules ultimately, and the dynamics that help with this decision-making process. So the great thing about doing this too is you'll start to see very quickly what are those really hard follow-up questions that people have that we do need to figure out as authors, like, right, what do you do in that particular situation? And to have a clear response so that the training becomes very easy to understand, to digest, and to implement. This is great, Mike. Thank you so much for putting in the work to do this. It's really a time saver.
Well, and it really, what it is, of course, is I just did a Google search, and these are just what came up on the first page. So these are the ones that have the highest rankings in Google.
Yes, right. And people likely won't go beyond the second page of Google results.
Exactly. But I was kind of interested in the fact that, well, the blogging stuff, very few of them are actually consultants. The last couple, McDermott and Sisinski, appear to be consultants, but all of them are about self-improvement more than anything else, or about general business strategies. And I think that we may be able to differentiate ourselves by focusing on decision-making as a process that can be generally applied to any situation, rather than going in and trying. I mean, obviously, if someone comes in and said, we need help on a particular topic, that's one thing. But just, there are so many things that businesses have to do, excuse me, that that require decision-making. So I just think that we can probably differentiate ourselves from some of these guys.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Agree.
And there's really not that many. And this is such a need in the business community, as you've identified. So
yeah, and there are only a few of the really big consulting agencies. I was surprised McKinsey didn't show up.
Oh, interesting.
At least not on page one. And
Gotcha.
you know, although I absolutely despise McKinsey and their methodology, they're big, and they're popular.
McKinsey. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
What is their methodology?
Well, they go in and they figure out who is the strongest personality in a company, and then they destroy everybody else.
Oh.
I've watched them do that repeatedly. I've watched them destroy 2 pharmaceutical companies that way.
Oh, man.
So I have very little use for them. However, they're very successful.
Yeah. It would be good to know what it is that they do, so that you can also address those points if people bring them up.
Yeah.
Like, what about McKinsey? Like, they're hugely successful and their method is very different. Then you can talk about, the pitfalls of using such a method.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So that's a much bigger conversation and a much bigger series of steps that would need to be taken by you three. Additional things. So I think right now a really critical thing for the online presence is making sure we're having a growing set of reviews that are showing up on your different sites.
Right.
So if you have people that you know or that we can reach out to in that like influencer group, or just true fans who could really, word things really well and that we could encourage to put up on these sites, that would be very, very helpful. In particular, Amazon, because Amazon is where a lot of people are going to go to try to purchase the book, and they need to see a lot of reviews.
And do we want to direct those reviews to LinkedIn or Facebook or both?
We can do all of the above, whatever people feel comfortable in doing. And I can send you the hyperlinks for you to share, like, please consider posting a review on this page or that page. It's very easy for them to do. It's a quick, fill in review. We want to see a combination of mostly positive reviews. We do want to see the occasional critique where it's a less than positive, because that'll be more reflective of a true readership versus paying or an author paying to have like 20 people put their reviews online and they're all glowing. It needs to look like legitimate reviews.
Yeah.
Well, we will have legitimate reviews or not at all, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
looking
so
down through
if I know some of
Sharice's stuff.
go ahead, Mike.
Okay, looking down through Sharice's stuff, there were everything from 5-star reviews to 2-star reviews of
Yes.
her book.
Yeah.
So, I looked down there and I thought, yeah, okay, the first several were 5-star reviews. And then they started having some people saying, well, I didn't like this, I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, they liked the writing, but they didn't care for the story, which was kind of funny in some cases.
Huh.
So, I mean, it was, so there were some positives in those negative.
That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Because a good writer can create a great storyline, but it's hard to do the other way around.
That's right. That's right. I've read an awful lot of really poorly written books that had great ideas.
Yeah. 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 So we still want to shoot for the average of like 4 stars or higher overall, because that also says something. So we have to just be mindful and track that and make sure that we're also encouraging a lot of positive reviews to continue to come. So if you can do that, that's a major focus right now in making sure that the web presence looks really spot on. Let's see here. Still working on getting the free ebook up on the website in exchange for email addresses. Real quickly, okay, so looking at branding again, and this is going to be something that carries over in your business as a really important piece. It's integral in all marketing efforts. So obviously with the book brand, the art and the cover in particular is going to, in time come, right? We can talk about that in a second, which will also influence colors. Like what are the branding colors for the book? So we want to make sure that that's consistent across all platforms and marketing materials. And then the other thing is a tagline. So there's currently not a tagline for the book. And again, a tagline is something that takes a potentially perceived ambiguous title and make it very clear what is the takeaway of the book. So for example, on Mike's profiles or on, the LinkedIn. Okay, so the tagline I put and we can talk about this, is help your team make better decisions. So we need to figure out what is the tagline for the book, and then looking back at the publishing brand itself. So you see that I put that simple logo in there. We can hold it there for now. We don't have to have an official logo until we get further down along. We can just use that. And that's just created in Canva as a, create your own logo kind of thing. Do you guys have a URL for the publishing company? It was listed.
Well, we do have Moving Beyond Compromise.
We also have.
I think we do.
Yeah.
Because the one that was listed on this page on LinkedIn goes to. It says it's being held by GoDaddy.
Yeah, that's us.
Okay, so we just haven't done anything with website design, correct? Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, because I think we can create a simple website.
Okay.
GoDaddy, I think. So that's something that needs to be figured out because as people are interested in who is this, publishing company, needs to have, even if it's just a simple landing page, like check out our recent book.
Yep, that's all we need to do. Yeah, and how to contact us.
Yes, or how to contact. Yes, exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Let's see here. Other things, and then same for the tagline. So you saw I put the tagline as, effective solutions for evolving businesses. So that's something that I don't necessarily have to be on the call for, but it's something 3 of you consider the tagline for both the publishing brand and the book brand itself. So it's very clear what is the takeaway from these brands.
Well, we'll come up with something in a timely fashion. I think it only took us 8 years to get the book title.
The title, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get it. We'll be there. We'll get it. We'll get it.
And same again for like the colors. You want to have consistent branding colors. So these are all like executive decisions that need to be made by the 3 of you.
Have you looked into the effect of choosing certain colors over others as to whether it will drive sales?
There are a whole like marketing courses on like effective color schemes.
I'm sure there are.
Like the high brands like Amazon and Google, Facebook, they use particular colors to evoke certain emotions. I am not good in this area in particular. I typically just go with what the client has established as their colors. But you'll notice, for example, that there is a difference between, so I've set up the branding on Facebook as, kind of like the colors from the book itself. So they're a little bit softer. They're more pastel kind of colors.
Right.
So then you just have to ask the question, like, for the primary target audience, is this an appealing color scheme to them? And what does it say? And then what are the other authors of business books who are also trying to provide solutions? Like, what are they using in terms of color schemes? And are those things effective? Like, so as someone in the business world, would you be inclined to pick up a book that looks like that, as an example? Gordon, have you made much progress on the cover art, the new cover art?
No, not really. The only thing I had time to give any thought to is some additional blogs. I know Mike has produced some very nice ones, and I've thought of some. I looked back at some of our own notes going back many years and some of the things that we considered, and there was some good material there for potential blogs. Mm-hmm. That's really about the only thing I've had much time for. So.
Okay. Okay. And then in terms of timelines, here's where we are real quick so that you guys can remember, like, what are we shooting for? And we can push it back. It seems like actually we need a little bit more time, and that's fine. We can push it back because I'm not even hitting anywhere near the projected budget for what each month was within the contract. Not yet. But once we start picking up, things will, I'm mindful of that as we're moving forward. So this is the Trello board. I'm pretty sure I added you to this Trello board. It's a project management tool to keep track of what is happening with the project.
Oh, how do we access that?
I thought I had sent you a...
No.
No, I hadn't? Okay. I thought I had, but I will. Okay, so sorry if my... So this, for example, is the project management board. Now, it's not fully fleshed out, but it's the beginning of what we've agreed to so far. There's obviously some additional things that have come up, like in terms of branding, thinking about additional packages and marketing, growing lists. All those pieces are, in addition to what, but you can see these are the different phases. So for example, this card has to do, or this board has to do with the pre-launch phase, which we're still in. That's January through March. And these are the things that we're working on within each of the areas. So for example, when you click on a card, it'll open up and it'll tell you more about all the things that need to go into that. So, cool. And then you can add items, you can add comments, you can have due dates behind them, additional attachments, etc. So it's a way to keep track of each of the different pieces. So then, so that's pre-launch. This is pre-launch, April through May, all the things that we have to do here, or that I listed on that contract. 1 week to go, launch phase, post-launch phase, and then these are additional ones that I've set up. So Amy, what do I need to do in terms of the social media specifics? Amy in terms of MailChimp, Amy in terms of research. Mike actually just did the competitor profile. And then we can also, once we're done with the things, then we can move it over to done. And then other important information. So this is just a way to keep track of everything that's happening and any decisions that have been made. So as you start to identify some of these things, like, okay, here's, all the specifics of the different kinds of packages we're going to offer. Here's the branding, colors, fonts, etc. for Council Publishing, for the book itself. Here are other ideas that are coming down the pike that we want to make sure that we're not losing sight of. So I'll go ahead and I'll add you to this board.
Okay.
And so feel free to take a look around. Again, it's kind of whenever I think of something, I try to drop it in here. So it's not perfect. So if you don't see it on here, it doesn't mean I haven't thought of it. It's just I haven't put it here yet. But I also may have not have thought of it. So
can we add items to this?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can be collaborative members. So say, for
Alright.
example, that you're like, I feel like we need another card that doesn't fit within any of these other ones. I'm going to go ahead and add another, well, they call it a list rather.
Okay, a list.
And you add a list, and then you can add cards within that list that have to do with that particular thing.
I see.
So say, for example, we'll say, okay, we're gonna do the upsell packages. This is what we're gonna call this one. And then within that, we're gonna add a card that says, what was the first one? Speaking. Speaking, the next one maybe is training. Next one is one-on-one consultation packages.
Right.
And then so when you go into it, then you can fill in all the details, like, what is the description? What are you talking about here? And then if you want to create a list, you do checklist. Yeah, that looks good. And then you can start filling out, like,
Okay,
identify price,
very nice.
so on and so forth. And then as you complete it, it'll show you how far you have left to go on the different tasks. So for your own things, you can also put, so say like Mike's like, I am having a hard time keeping all these things straight. I just want my own list over here so I remember. And so others have visibility. And then you can start to create your own set of cards and task lists.
Okay,
It's
good.
really easy.
Yeah,
It's hard. And you can set, as you set yourself a due date, it'll also send you a reminder, an email. Like, hey, your thing is due in a couple of days. Just wanted to remind you that exists on the board. Things like that. Due date, right? Yeah. And then it should have the option of saying, who is this for? When you join the project management board. Oh. Okay, great. Any questions? I know it's a lot. There's a lot to consider. But for the sake of time and budget, I wanted to leave some of these decisions to you if you could make them, as opposed to me guessing on your behalf. I think that you have a ton of experience I don't have in this field. So whatever you fast is good.
well, you're doing a great job, Amy, first of all.
Oh, thanks.
And clearly there's some things that Mike and Kevin and I have to consult on.
Yeah.
The branding and the training materials and even putting together perhaps some talks and so forth. And we are going to be the slowest piece of this. You talked about, maybe needing to set the timeline back. We are the limiting factor in much of this, and that's just the way it is because we.
Yeah, and that's fine.
This is only a small portion of our.
I know, of your lives. I know.
So yeah, we apologize for that, but that's just the reality. So the three of us are going to have to, like I said, put our heads together and get some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a limiting factor at this point.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I said before, feel free to start very simply. Like if the best that you can do right now is further perfect what you've already done in terms of a speech, that's great. Let's see if we can start getting speaking engagements because we can sell your books there and we can find new email addresses that we can start promoting to people. If that's where it starts, that's great. And then from there, you can start to see a really clear set of, and maybe it is a shorter training. Maybe it's just a few hours that you offer and you're just kind of going through each of these different guiding principles in breakout groups so that they can ask questions. They can, maybe do a little like mock scenario. What does this actually look like in action? Something like that. But as you're ready.
I have a question for you, Amy. And part of it may be because you use certain terminology that I may or may not be familiar with. At the start of the meeting, you talked about you wanted to discuss the social media, which you did, the CRM, and then you talked about something, and maybe I jotted this down wrong. Mm-hmm. Was it expansion of offers?
Yeah, and that's what we talked about. Yeah, the expansion of offers includes all the different packages.
It was about the packages. Okay, I just wanted to be clear that that's what that was.
Yeah, that's the expansion of offers.
Okay.
Because the reality is that people who like this book are going to really want more from it. They're not just going to want to read the book and hopefully have a nice conversation on social media.
Right.
Help to put it in place.
And because of my cautious nature, I'd like to see that we at least have something available if if those offers suddenly have a demand.
Yes, and they might. But that's okay too. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a perfect model. You can
No,
learn about it and offer the speaking and training at a discount, so that you also feel like you're not overcharging for something that's not a great product yet.
right.
So that's another thing the three of you can talk about, which is timeline. Like, does this
Yep.
timeline still feel really comfortable? And then start thinking very practically, like, okay, if we want to extend our timeline, then what are the pieces that are really critical to us? When should we be able to put certain things in place by? And maybe it's not the three of you that are immediately doing the speaking engagements. Maybe, like I said, it's just Mike at the beginning, because he has the most amount of time right now.
Mhm.
And you can learn from that and grow from that.
Learn
just
from
like
my
a-
mistakes.
What's that? Yeah, your mistakes, but also your victories. And again,
Yep.
like I said, the concepts, they're there. They're in the book. They just need that next step of like holding the hand with the approach.
Yes.
So, okay, great. I know it was a lot to consider. Are there any additional questions or things I talked about we need to clarify?
I don't think so. I think the three of us have a couple things to talk about, but I think we're already past 11 o'clock. So,
Yeah.
And I know that you're limited to an hour. So,
Yeah.
Amy, I'm going to probably send you an email, and maybe you and I can talk in the next 2-3 days and help me get my social media pages looking like they're supposed to.
Great. Sounds good. Awesome.
Okay.
This is so exciting, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many possibilities. I get tingles.
Well, we're excited about it. Hopefully it's finally going to go. So
Yes, it will. It will. I am convinced that once we start marketing packages, it's going to take off differently than what
yeah.
it's been before. It's a particular strategy to also sell books.
Okay. Well, anything else for Amy, or do you want to, Amy could go ahead and drop off, and then we could just talk real shortly.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we
Sounds
should
good.
probably discuss a few things.
Thank you, Amy.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Thanks, Amy.
Happy Yamiha.
Happy
Yeah.
Yamiha.
Indeed.
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, here
Okay.
we are.
Yep. Taxes. So I sent you an email, and I've got that. If you have any questions, or are there any corrections? Did you get a chance to look at it?
I did look at it.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to yet. I will note to look at that now.
Is it possible to save a copy of that that's not
I
protected?
actually, no, I can't, because the way it's encrypted. I'm trying to do that, but I actually have the two of you. I've got your K1s, and
Right.
I can see what I can do to print off. Do you want a copy of the entire tax return, or just
No.
your K1?
I tried doing a save as, and I think I might have been able to view it. I'm not positive now. Maybe it was because I had the original copy still open. No, I just probably need to print out a hard copy of it. But I
Okay.
think you can do that with the encrypted version. So let me try that first.
Okay, try that. But I actually have I'm going to stick these in the mail to you. And you're on Mahaffey Drive, right, Mike?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're going to mail a copy, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm going to mail these to you. Get them out tomorrow. It's the K1 and the copy of the financial statement. So
Yeah,
I'll
that's
get those
fine.
to you. Okay.
That's,
And
yeah,
then you
it, was,
can do that in your
it
tax.
just showed our usual loss of whatever it was, 700 and something, right?
Yeah, well, only
Hey.
one more year. Only one more year. Only that was our last year of losses. Now it's going to go up.
Right. Boy, Amy's doing great, but it sounds like we still got a lot of work to do here.
We do.
Yes.
We do. We have a lot of work to do. So the good thing is that I finally got my my office here in my basement set up now.
Okay.
So
Oh,
I
that's
can
great.
actually get working and be functional. So
Well, how you doing with that? Was the separation? I mean, it sounded like it's something you were okay with
yeah,
ultimately, but
actually,
that's still
I,
stressful.
yeah, it's stressful, but it's interesting. My level of stress is dramatically lower than what it was when I was working there.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So Julie's like, Julie has commented how much more fun I am to be around.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
that was that was pretty intense, especially the last like 3 or 4 months. So I'm feeling really positive and really good. There's a lot of I'm getting tremendous amount of positive confirmations from my network that's out there, and I think it's going to be just fine. So, but I can really now I'm all set up, back from vacation, ready to go. It's going to be I got some time to do stuff, so and I'm blocking off time to work on this. So in the week, so because you can't just continue to work on the same thing, you got to get variety. So it'll be good.
Well, as I said to Amy, the only thing I've really done much of anything with is think about some of the blog subjects. I
That's
think
great.
Mike's been going down a very nice logical progression, and I have some things that I think we can throw in at some point.
Great.
Call it a guest blog. I don't know what you want to call it, or things that will come in play about group dynamics. Or we had
Okay.
some discussions in the past about when we identified our cast of characters and personality types and whatnot. And I think there's a lot of good material there.
Right.
I'd also be interested in looking, Kevin, at some point at some of the training materials, because
Yep.
I have not really been heavily involved with training materials in recent years. I can't even think of the last time
Okay.
I recall conducting some trainings
Uh-huh.
for, like county employees and whatnot, but that was more just
Yeah.
more of a video type
Yeah.
presentation, or I had them sitting at their computers and kind of walk them through things. So I'm not sure what type of printed materials we're talking about.
And I actually okay, so I will get on that and get because I took a whole bunch of stuff out of my office and put it into our storage unit. So I'm going to go over there this week and kind of organize some of that and pull it out. And but I did keep all of the folders for all that training material and what they did. So that'll be fine.
Great.
Yeah, because I don't know what mix, for example, of call it hard copy versus a PowerPoint presentation is the most effective. It seems to me there has to be some combination. I mean, no matter how effective or enthralling a PowerPoint presentation is, at some point I always find myself looking down at a piece of paper that has some bullet points or something as confirmation of what it was that I just
Yeah.
saw. Or wait a minute, what was that last screen? And I don't really have that. And I think
there's a lot of interactive stuff. At least the last one that I attended, they also have a lot of little YouTube videos, or they've got some other little videos that they intersperse in among the training. And so it's
right.
And it could be something that just is a motivational or a comedy thing, or hey, this was kind of a good idea, but they introduced it kind of in a comedy way, but the message of it is really strong, and so it's things like that we need to do some research on, and as we get get presentations ready to go, just to create something that isn't just a straight up PowerPoint and you bore every people to death.
Right.
No, there really has to be a takeaway, preferably in some sort of binder format that somebody can readily identify.
I agree, that they can refer back to.
Yeah.
And study.
Right.
Yep. So, okay. We also need to, we've got to get working on the cover art and what we want to do there. So what do you think what should we be doing there? My thought of the guy at work that does a lot of graphic stuff. Just obviously, I'm not there anymore, so I don't have access to him. And in my conversation with him, he doesn't seem too excited about it. So I think that's dead. So what should we do?
Yeah.
All right, there are graphic artists that do cover art. And so I think maybe we just need to do a little searching. I've got one name, Mike Hamers, who did the cover art for my for my nanotech book.
Okay.
I'll see if I can locate him.
Yeah.
It's been a long time ago now.
I think Amy gave us a name too. In fact, I think it's someone that she's helping who did some kind of a book, and the art had lions, like having lunch with lions, or I forget what the title was. I don't know if she included you in that email or if it was something she just sent to me.
No, she did. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the picture on the cover was a lion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that, and I don't know if you took a look at the cover art on Sharice's book, but it's pretty fantastic.
No,
I have no idea what that cost.
yeah.
And of course, we don't want a dragon in a burning city on our book.
no.
But it says to me that this person really studied the book, because it's kind of subtle in its relationship to the actual story. But that's another possibility. And
Okay.
I'm sure that person is not cheap.
Do we want to ask Rich Chamberlain?
Yeah, well, why not? Why not?
We have nothing to lose.
Okay, I'll see him later. We're doing a fundraiser this afternoon, so I'll see him then.
That'd be great. Yeah, he's
He's good with graphics.
he's a good artist.
He is.
And he thinks, as all good artists do, way outside the box.
I
And
agree.
he has some idea of consultation.
Exactly. And he might, just translating that to the title Moving Beyond Compromise might just put an image right in his head.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's a good starting place.
Okay.
Logos. Of course, my go-to person for logos is no longer in this world, so
No longer.
Peg O'Connor was great with logos.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
And in fact, if she were with us, I'd have her do a book cover for us. But yeah,
yeah.
whole family of artists is diminishing. God. I might play around with some logos actually.
I think with the Council Publishing logo, I think it's Amy threw that one together really quick, and I just went online and looked at publishing logos.
Yeah.
The standard one is there's something like a book.
Yeah.
Part of the logo.
Yeah.
Just to have it say, really simple Council Publishing.
Yeah.
And put it on there somewhere. I mean, I don't think we need anything more than that. Something super simple.
Probably not, a Greek column from a temple, Ionic or Doric or something. Next to the name.
Get a picture of the House of Worship, or the not the House of Worship, of the Universal House of Justice.
Yeah, just like or part of it. I don't know.
Part of it.
I mean, that's what I think of. The High Council meets in some sort of a building like that.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Okay, so you're gonna work on that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay,
And I'll keep drafting.
you're doing awesome on those blogs.
Yeah, I like the two revisions that I did a lot better, and I'm working on number 3 now. So.
I did too. Those are really good.
So and that's what prompted me to start doing the research that led to that list I gave you guys.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Was just what are other people doing, and what happens if somebody says, well, we can get all this stuff from these other places. So I'm trying to make it a little different in the way it presents itself.
Right. Well, you can, but let us help you decide on which place you want to get it from.
That's right. That's right. Come talk to us. Whatever
Yeah.
your problem is, we can help you make the decision, but we won't make it for you.
Right.
That was part of the theme of our book. We won't make the decisions for you, but we'll help you make the decision.
But we'll lend you the coin to toss.
That's right. Right. And what an interest rate.
That'd be,
Yeah,
okay.
so training.
All right.
So when Amy was talking about the ads, she was talking about us purchasing ads on Facebook. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
To drive business?
To drive sales, yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the places that Zuckerberg and crew make their money,
Of course.
besides selling our data.
Well, besides that, yeah. And pretending they have more users than they actually do in order to raise their advertising rates. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Colors for branding. I mean, that also would play into, well, Council Publishing doesn't necessarily have to have the same color scheme, but
No.
fairly consistent. I don't know much about the emotional use of color other than Italian restaurants like to have a lot of red, so you get in, eat, and get the hell out. And I'm aware that certain color schemes are great for submarines, and other color schemes will make you depressed if you're in a room with it too long. I think blue is still fairly neutral.
It is.
It is.
Just keep to that. I don't know.
If we're going to talk with, or Kevin, if you're going to talk to Rich,
Yeah.
he may come up with some ideas for color schemes.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. And the cover art should dictate, I think, our color scheme.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay.
Okay.
That'd be good.
All right. Let's stay in touch. We've got a lot going on here. We've had several bad days with my mother-in-law, so we don't know what's going on.
Sorry.
Well, thank you, but keep us in your prayers.
Well,
Okay.
But but nonetheless, I'm planning to take from mid-March to mid-April off from teaching, because
Okay.
Sharice will be here for 2 weeks of that.
Oh, cool.
So that's part of what I want to do. Part of why I'm doing it, but nonetheless, I'll be able to potentially have some more time.
Okay. That'd be good. So, okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll get back to you after what Rich says and such. So,
Yeah. Trying to think of other artists that we know in the area. And I'll keep that in mind. I mean, I'm sure there are people that can do it, but let's talk to Rich. If we can get someone that understands the process and that we know, and we like the work, that'd be great. Oh, front on.
well,
That's
and
a
Rich
compliment.
might know some artists. I mean,
He might. Yeah.
the Rodeo market's gone, but I'm sure he must have rubbed shoulders with quite a few people.
He did, and he actually goes down and he shares a space in some studio.
Right.
He's touching shoulders with artists all day long. So
Super.
Yeah, that's the best way to go then, I think, initially. All righty.
All right.
Well, say hi to Susan and Julie.
I will.
And to Lauren.
To Lauren. Yep.
Absolutely. And we should probably get together, in about a month or 3 weeks or?
I can do the two of us could get, I mean, the three of us could meet without Amy if you want. So I'm open every Sunday at this time. I mean, so this is a really good, 10 o'clock on Sundays is a really good time for me.
Yeah.
So do we want to schedule a meeting on the 10th, March 10th?
Let's see. March 10th is probably the first day of daylight savings time during the fast. Let me see here. Well, what the heck? What else have I got to do?
I know.
Not to rub it in or anything, but you guys are the ones who have to fast.
Right.
Yeah, well. All right, so let's do, why don't we tentatively set the March 10th for the three of us to get together, so.
Okay, at 10 a.m.?
Yeah. You want to send out an invite, Mike, or do you want me,
Yeah.
I'll do it, or?
I'll do it. I'll go ahead and schedule another Zoom.
Very
Okay,
good.
this is great. I like this. I like this platform.
Yeah, it's good. We use it a lot. I have recorded most of this meeting. I missed about the first few minutes while we were trying to talk.
Okay.
But I've recorded this, and I'll upload the recording and send you guys the link.
Cool.
Fine.
So,
Okay.
All righty.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
All right. We'll see ya.
Take
We'll
care.
talk to you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.